Welcome to How Can I Keep From Singing, a podcast where we explore the powerful art form of people making music together. My name is Stuart Stotts, and my guest today is Elise Witt. For over 40 years, she has performed concerts traveling in the U.S. and beyond. She's written songs and choral pieces and released recordings and songbooks. Elise leads workshops that, in her words, take singers on a journey to expand confidence and consciousness, playing with melody, rhythm, language, harmony, vocal production, and soul connection. Students discover, explore, and expand their vocal range and abilities in a supportive and joyous atmosphere. Wouldn't we all want to be in a workshop like that? Elise brings elegance and joy to the music she makes. She seems to live by the words of one of her songs, "We're All Born Singing," which frankly could be another name for this podcast. Welcome to the show, Elise.
Thank you so much. It's great to be here.
Let's begin at the beginning. What was your childhood, or what got you into singing? Was it family, school, church, community? What began to bring you down this road?
Many of those things, definitely family. I come from a very musical family, and they say that I took my first steps sort of singing towards strawberries. I had amazingly wonderful music teachers from elementary school all the way through high school and into college, especially in high school. Charlie Burt, our music director, was a jazz pianist, and he was fantastic. And I was not only in the chorus, but in the ensemble, and we got to leave school to go perform in different places. And then in college, Laura Hoggard was the director of the Carolina Choir. I went to the University of North Carolina, and that was an extraordinary group as well. And after my freshman year, he was the guest conductor at the Graz Festival in Austria, and we got to go tour Austria and then Yugoslavia, what was then Yugoslavia. So I had an incredibly rich education in public school and university, which I just feel so fortunate for and wish that everyone had those kind of opportunities now as well.
You are incredibly fortunate to have that.
Yeah.
Not everyone who comes to singing comes through that route, but I'm
Right.
glad it worked for you. So you have this training as a singer and experience singing with people. What happened next?
Actually, I was a French major in college, and I was going to be one of those interpreters that has like headphones with one language coming in my ear and another coming out my mouth. But I got sidetracked into theater, an experimental theater company in Atlanta called the Theatrical Outfit. We all taught each other kind of what we knew. And then after a while, they said, well, let's do classes for the public. So I started a class called Singing for the Non or Quasi Singer. But then I realized that is a terrible name, because that's actually the opposite of what I'm trying to convey, is that we are all singers. We all are born singing. We all have voices. Many of us have been shut down at some point by some school music teacher or choir director that says, just mouth the words. I have students in my classes now that tell me that, and that causes me so much pain, because I feel like singing is so important. It's important for our health. It's important for our communities. It's important for ways that we connect with each other. So I guess my purpose in life is to get everybody singing again.
There's an interesting balance, I think, because you have a beautiful voice and a great singer. And at the same time, you're interested in not just standing on the stage and showing what you can do, but probably a greater interest in this community singing. Talk about that balance a little bit.
Well, there's something magical that happens when we sing with other people. It's not like 1 + 1 = 2. It's like 1 + 1 + 1 = 1. We become part of this circle. And in my classes, once I've taught a song, and we're singing in harmony, we're standing in a circle, I let each person go into the center, close their eyes, and stop singing. And I liken the listening to looking at a braid. So we hear all of the hairs right? There's like every voice is in there. You can move your ears around and hear this person over here, over there. And then there's the strands. So when you make a braid, you divide the hair into 3 sections. And so you can hear group 1, you can hear group 2, group 3, however many groups there are. But then the challenge is, can you listen to the braid? Can you listen to the song? How all of those hairs and all of those parts come together into one thing that weaves together into what is the song. If you're not looking and you're not singing, but you're just using your ears to look and listen, you hear it. And when you come back into singing, you're bringing that listening and that understanding in a new way. It's very different from being part of it and listening as you're singing. And I think that that's something very, very powerful. And I love seeing people's faces as they're listening, because these like looks of joy and discovery and things kind of transform their face as they not only listen, but also like maybe turn because our ears point a certain way, right? And so as you turn, you're also hearing different things. It's a wonderful, wonderful experience.
It's a very advanced way of listening, and an incredible gift to give people the opportunity to do that. There's also the power of harmony. I know that you don't just work in unison singing. Talk a little bit about the power of what it means when people find that harmony.
I mean, when I talk about, listening for the 3 different parts, we're actually singing in harmony. And there's many different ways for composers or songwriters or improvisers to create harmony. One of them is parallel harmonies. And those might actually be the most difficult to teach, because we're all singing the same thing at the same time. And so people might tend to gravitate towards the melody that they know. There's also songs that are part songs. One of your and my favorite composers, Joanne Hamill, taught me a lot about creating parts that have different words and different rhythms, so that you don't get drawn from one to one or another. You can hold on to this part while you're hearing other people sing like a completely different part. In my class recently, we were just singing the song about when we are singing, we become one. Joanne's song. Again, listening to things that are completely different, but how they fit together and braid together and not in parallel lines.
It's sophisticated, and at the same time, there is something magical about when that harmony, or the parts as well, fit. You can't explain it so well, but when you experience it, which I think is what you're giving people the opportunity to do, something transformative can happen.
Yeah, it's magic.
So you're leading workshops about helping people to often, as you mentioned, recover sometimes from the trauma of being told not to sing or shut down in various ways, we hear this story so often as singers, people who are told that. How do you approach that hurt that people may carry as they want to re-engage with music?
Sometimes some of my workshops are called Singing for Fun for Everyone, but a name that I actually use more and really like is an impromptu glorious chorus. And it comes from the idea that after having, as I've mentioned, such wonderful music teachers, I also got really inspired by the idea of improvisation. I started listening to Bobby McFerrin in 1983, and I've probably heard him live 10, 20 times, a really incredible singer, musician. But Rhiannon, who is one of his singers in the Voicestra and then in Give Me Five, is actually the person who has taken this idea of vocal improvisation into the teaching realm. And she's an incredible teacher. And I was very, very fortunate to be in her very first year. She decided to do a year-long program called All the Way In. You meet 3 times over the course of a year in 3 different places geographically with a group of anywhere from 12 to however many people, maybe 18 now. But she focuses on, she created something called the Vocal River, which is a series of exercises to explore the idea of creativity, of improvisation, but in a very concrete way. Because of that, you realize everyone has a voice, a different way of expressing themselves. But these vocal river exercises are really beautiful because they're very specific and yet are completely open to creativity. In 2012, I was, I'll say honored, but shocked is a better word, to be invited by her to be a co-pilot in this program. And so I really got to kind of support her teaching and learn more about the teaching. And I have taken many, many workshops with her since then. She's currently exploring the idea of murmuration, which you know as birds and fish do, of how they move in space and in water, and working with dancers and singers, but singers who move and dancers who sing. Just did a workshop with her with a group of 13 singer dancers from all over the world, exploring this idea of moving together, singing together. It's so much about listening. So listening with our bodies and listening with our ears, our voices, and also knowing when to be silent, when to let what's happening happen and be part of the silence, when to follow the group, when to be a soloist and kind of take off from the group and create something that's supported by what's happening in the group. So this idea of improvisation is something that I really have been weaving into my workshops now. An impromptu glorious chorus.
Feel what love will do. Can you feel it? Feel what love will do. Can you feel it? What love will do. Love, sweet love, only love will do. Love, sweet love, only love will do.
You're listening to How Can I Keep From Singing? I'm your host, Stuart Stotts, and today we're talking with Elise Witt.
I do teach lots and lots of songs. I've written songs for that, but I also have collected songs over the years from so many different writers, composers, and I also I've just had wonderful teachers all my life. I got to study with Dr. Ise Maria Barnwell from Sweet Honey in the Rock starting in 1985, and I've taken many workshops with her as well. The way that she teaches, also all by ear, all by body. Written music is great and it's helpful and it's a way of communicating among musicians. But if we learn first by paper, it's very hard to get off paper. Whereas when we learn through our ears and our bodies, it's in us forever. And then maybe the paper can serve, as a reference. But I always teach all by ear. In my live classes, I send music afterward. Curiously, during the pandemic, someone got me to start teaching online, so I did. And that class has continued because the people in my class are from all over. And so it's actually fun, which I didn't think it would be, but it's super fun because there's this group of people from, Vermont and Washington State and Alabama and various places, and they've come to know each other. New people can come in. Some people go out for a while and come back. But it also has challenged me to find other ways to sing in community where we can't hear each other. They're singing only with me. They're duetting with me, which actually can be scary, but also very revealing because you're hearing your own voice. You're not doing that thing where you're hearing all the parts, right? You're actually hearing yourself. And I encourage people, maybe we're singing something that has parts, but then, just to hold long tones over it. And where does that long tone not feel good? So would I go down a little or up a little? Just using our ears in creative ways.
That's a lot. There's helping people just begin to discover their voice, discovering their voice in connection with others, and then this improvisation and the connection to your body. Mm-hmm. This is not just something that happens in your throat. All of those pieces. As a workshop leader, what are the challenges you face in doing this work?
Probably the biggest challenges have nothing to do with the music. The biggest challenges are just, being an independent artist and organizing workshops and sending out things and getting people there. The actual workshops, I have to say that I have a plan when I'm starting, but it's an improvisational process also because when I see who's there, when I hear what sounds I'm hearing, when I see what people are maybe not quite getting or excited about, that takes me on a journey of, well, here's where we're going to go next in this workshop. I have a plan, but it is malleable and changeable because of what I'm hearing. I have a giant 3-ring binder that has like all the songs I've ever taught. I think maybe not all, but many, many, many. Of course, I also have this on my computer, and I do send out music to folks. But sometimes, like in the last session, I went to my binder and I opened it to the S section, which was lots of songs about singing. And so all the songs we did last month, not all, but many, many, many were about singing. And I love that there are songs about the power of singing, about the power of community in singing, about the power of actually vibrating our bodies with singing, what singing does, what singing is, why we love it. Yeah, I have a song called All Singing, which starts, what if every session of Congress started with singing? What if every day we greet started with singing? Babies are born singing. When did we stop? How did we stop? Why did we stop singing? 'Cause singing is in our souls, singing is in our bodies, singing is in our souls. Singing is in our souls, singing is in our bodies, singing is in our souls.
So you've got these, in part, all these songs that directly address sort of the, I call it the issues, as it were, of what you're bringing there. What are some other things you look for in repertoire? Songs come by you, you create songs. I guess it's a two-part question. One is, what do you look for in other songs? What makes a good song for people to sing? Recognizing there's improvisation often, but also as a composer, what are some of the considerations you have in writing songs that you want people to sing successfully?
As I said, I've really learned from so many, not only great composers, but great song leaders. I just wanted to call some of them out because in addition to Rhiannon and listening to Bobby McFerrin, I spent quite a bit of time with Dr. Fred Onowere-Suwoke, who is from Ghana, his parents from Nigeria, and he spent a long, long time gathering vocal music in Africa, all over the continent, and then making it accessible to Western audiences, Western singers. I, for about 10 years, organized a program at the Swannanoa Gathering called Sing, Swing, and String. And it started out as a vocal week, but it quickly encompassed also musical instruments and dancing. Every day, people could choose their classes, but every day after lunch, there was African chorus, and there was no other classes at that time, so the whole community gathered there. Fred O, as he's known, directed that, and one of the things I so appreciate about him is that people always were asking him, like, is it okay for, Americans, for white people to sing African music? And both he and Dr. Barnwell, I believe, were really encouraging this music is important. It is part of who we are as humans, and it's also some of the most joyful, beautiful, powerful music in the world.
You're listening to How Can I Keep From Singing? My name is Stuart Stotts, and my guest today is Elise Witt.
If you think about the power of music in history, the South African music, the freedom songs I don't think the movement would be as strong as it was without the music, the civil rights movement. There's music in Estonia, and then music has also been used in negative ways. In Germany during Hitler's time, the sort of marching way of just like hypnotic music to convince people literally music changes the molecules in the air around us and in our bodies. Bernice Johnson Reagan talked about that a lot, about how during the civil rights movement, when they were in a church and they were singing and they knew the police were coming, they would sing and they felt the music change the molecules in their bodies and the molecules in the air around them. I do write some music for group singing, but more than that, I'm always on the lookout for music that brings us together in communities. It's been maybe like 15 years now or 20 years, I've been singing in a trio with Terry Garthwaite from the Bay Area in San Francisco, in California, and Becky Reardon from New Mexico. It's such an amazing trio that we have because we are extremely different. Our vocal qualities are really, really different. The way that we write, Becky writes these weird, beautiful songs about the nature in New Mexico, many other things as well. Terry was part of the band Joy of Cooking, which I discovered in college and just loved. Extremely radical band because they were led by two women who wrote all the music and played. Terry played guitar and Tony Brown played piano. And so this trio, which we call Natural Rhythms, we do concerts, but we also do workshops. And again, there we have different ways of creating community and finding those vibrations that bring us together.
You mentioned a little bit about the importance of singing in political movements, for good or for bad, clearly the power of music. On the one hand, music has its own power on its own without being used necessarily for politics. But what's your experience been? We're in a time now when music can help us deal with the political situation, perhaps. What are your thoughts about the relationship between singing together and political activism?
Really, I just have one sentence to say about that. A movement without singing has no power.
We can leave that question right there. I think that's Let's just say that you're going to a workshop where people are going to be singing together. Maybe you're leading it, or maybe you're just part of, one more singer. What 3 songs might be in your pocket that you may or may not use, but that you feel are consistently effective to help folks begin to find their way singing?
I don't really have an answer for that because every situation is different. And as I progress, I'm always collecting new songs. I do have the big, giant, 3-ring binder where sometimes I open up to a letter and see what's there.
My journey, yours. My journey, your journey, my journey, yours. My journey, your journey, my journey, yours. My journey, your journey, my journey, yours. My journey, your journey.
So what message would you have to folks who maybe are not accomplished or have a lot of experience singing? How would you help people gain entree into this form of expression?
I think one of the exciting things that's happening right now is that the idea of group singing, community singing, is just exploding. Believe it or not, I think that the pandemic actually helped that. Not to get people singing online. Yes, that, but then, for example, Maggie Wheeler in California, every week she brought 4 song leaders that would lead songs that they had written or not. In that process, more and more people know about song leaders, opportunities to sing. I don't know if you know about the community choir training in British Columbia. And they're basically training folks who would like to lead community singing. They're non-audition choirs. They're all by ear. And they train people to start choirs in their communities. And every year they turn out more choir leaders. For me, I'm not interested in a choir, so to speak. Like, I'm interested in the process, not the product. But it's a wonderful, fun experience to be part of a choir as well. I feel like that movement is just really exploding, and there are opportunities to sing so many places. Even if you live somewhere where you don't think that there are, there's also networks that you can find online. There's a network called The Well for improvisational singing. There's just all kinds of resources like that. So I think no matter where you live, you can find somewhere to sing. Maybe if you can't find somewhere that is a regular, like weekly or monthly, whatever, sing. There are also so many great programs. I teach at the Swannanoa Gathering in North Carolina, and that is Contemporary Folk Week. It's also Guitar Week, but I'm just teaching my Impromptu Glorious Chorus, and we'll be singing. And then I also teach at the John C. Campbell Folk School in the mountains of North Carolina as well. I also actually would love to tell people about a very interesting, exciting, and unusual workshop that I do on Ossabaw Island off the coast of Savannah, Georgia, which is Georgia's first nature preserve. It is a completely wild island. You're only allowed to go there for scientific or cultural research. And so once a year, I've taken a group of maximum 13 singers to explore the island and to really listen to the music of the island, to see what the island has to tell us musically. It's a huge island. It's the size of Bermuda. It's something like 46,000 acres. I'm terrible with numbers, but it's a beautiful place. And this coming March 2026, I'll be doing the workshop with Becky Reardon that I was mentioning, and she's such a composer of music that's focused around nature. So it's going to be a special time. Yeah, that's going to be very exciting.
Beautiful. That the island in particular sounds incredible.
It is
For people. Yeah, I think there is kind of an explosion of, or at least a growth of people who want to find ways to just sing it in community, for their own personal health, for their sense of connection to other people. Elise, you're an amazing repository of both experience and material and spirit. I'm just delighted that you could come and talk with me and with folks today about this thing that obviously brings you such great joy, but that brings so much joy to the people who get the opportunity to just sing with you in whatever ways that might be. Thank you very much for joining me here.
Well, it's a delight to be with you, Stuart. Thank you.
My pleasure. Elise Witt, and I'll include information about contact and so on in the notes for this show. Thank you, Elise.
Started with singing. What if every day we greet started with singing? Babies are born singing. When did we stop? How did we stop? Why did we stop singing? Singing is in our souls, singing is in our bodies, singing is in our souls. Singing is in our souls, singing is in our bodies, singing.
You've been listening to How Can I Keep From Singing? A production of Common Arts Incorporated. My name is Stuart Stotts, and my guest today was Elise Witt.
Imagine computer programmers all singing. Students and teachers and janitors and principals all singing. Baseball, football, basketball, soccer, hockey, rugby teams all singing. Doctors, nurses, patients, and anesthesiologists all singing. Singing is in our souls, singing is in our bodies, singing is in our souls. Singing is in our souls, singing is in our bodies, singing is in our souls. Imagine the Supreme Court justices all singing.